right? This chapter is all about checks. So today we're going to be talking about what's called bank reconciliation. This is essentially just balancing a checkbook. Now it's like the professional version of it, but that's essentially what's going on. When we say balancing a checkbook, do you know what I mean by that? Those of you that say you had checking accounts and have checkbook, maybe not actually a physical book, but so long time ago, before digital banking, when Mr. Kulik was a young fella, you would get like a monthly statement from the bank with like, this is how much money is currently in your bank account. These are the transactions that happened. But if you're writing checks, you have checks that haven't cleared yet, that nobody's caused payment of. It might be a month before you get your next bank statement. For you to know how much money is in your bank account, you have to like keep a running total of how much money is in, how much money you have out in checks, how much money is actually in the bank. And then occasionally you get surprises from the bank. You know, like if you have a checking account, occasionally you get hit with a service fee for like having a checking account. Or you accrue a little bit of interest if some money comes into your account that you weren't ready for. Or like you bounce a check and you get a fee tacked on because you bounced the check. That means you wrote a check where there was insufficient funds for the person to cash it, so the bank covers that, will sometimes cover the check and then fine you until you cleared it. Where are you? There you are. So like every month when you get your statement, you have to go through and like look in your checkbook and figure out like, okay, this check is clear, this check is clear, this check is clear. Oh, this one is still outstanding. Have to keep an eye on that. Oh, we had a service charge in here, so I actually have $10 less than I thought I was going to. And that's essentially what you're doing here, just as a business perspective. Now this becomes a little less paper dependent with online banking, like where like I can see all my transactions on the bank, and for the most part, people would use a debit card rather than a check in your personal life, and those transactions happen immediately, basically, rather than writing a check and then it sits in the mail for a week, and then it like gets to the person, and they have to process the check, take the check to the bank. Could be sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month before somebody cashed your check. You mailed it to another person, particularly if they weren't like doing business. So we're going to start with what's called a bank statement. So this is something the bank would mail you on a monthly basis. If you're running a business, you certainly would get paper statements of these because you need the paper records. But basically what your bank statement is, it's a report of deposits, withdrawals, and bank balances. And anytime that you write a check and that check is cashed by another entity, that's what we call a canceled check. Typically, the bank would used to send those back to you. Like, here's your check, back again. That shows you that it got to the bank, and the bank cashed it, and they send it back with your statement. When I do my online banking now, when the check clears, they have like an image, like a scanned image of your check, rather than sending you the actual physical copy of it. But banks still do this. So a check that's been cashed, we refer to as a canceled check. So it's a check that's no longer valid, as opposed to a voided check that we talked about last time, where like, oops-a-daisy, I made a mistake filling this out, I don't want this to count for anything. And you write void across that. A canceled check is a check that's been paid out. Does everybody feel okay? And the image here is like a typical example of a bank statement, right? Where it has dates, they have check numbers, You know, so these are like credits. Here's some checks that you've cashed as a deposit. That's just a second check on the same date. And here's some deposits that have happened on the same date, and like your running balance in your bank account. So when you go to balance your checkbook, or in the parlance of this class, it'll be the reconciliation of bank statement. What you want to do is you want to take your checkbook record, the record you have on your checkbook that has the running balance on it, and make sure that you're current with what's actually happened in the bank account. So here, if you look at this, we have a service charge here. This service charge would have been something that would have been invisible on your checkbook. That service charge is something that happened to your bank account with no record of yours other than the bank statement coming through. So that's something that we want to reconcile here. So to complete one of these reconciliation of bank statements, you start by putting a date. You want to have the the balance in your checkbook to current. Any service charges or bank deductions that wouldn't be accounted for in your checkbook. So now you have an adjusted balance in your checkbook. And then you have the balance of what the bank says is in the bank account. You have any deposits accounted for that aren't reflected on the bank statement. You have a subtotal of what is actually in the bank, and then you would subtract from that any outstanding checks that have not yet cleared, that haven't been cashed, to give yourself your adjusted bank balance. So that's what you would want to record actually in your checkbook to know how much money you have available to write checks for. Does everybody kind of see what we're doing? So again, periodically you want to come back and check and make sure that all of this stuff adds up and you haven't like forgotten about a check. You wrote a check and you forgot to write a record for it, which God knows happened all the time growing up when we had to do this all by paper, and like as a family you had to keep track of your checking balance, your checkbook on a monthly basis and know how much has been spent. You know, when Dad tears out a check to pay for the dry cleaning and takes it with him and forgets to record it, it's like a whole thing. You know, it's like, how much was the dry cleaning check for? Remember you took that? It's like, you didn't write it down, you know, like, happens. All right, continuing on. And then you want to compare your adjusted balances and make sure they match. That's the balancing part. When we say balance a checkbook, that's the idea. Does everybody feel okay? Does the stories help kind of bring this back to like what this used to be like and why we're doing it this way? So occasionally you have these transactions that only show up on the bank's end, where the bank pays your checking account interest, or you get hit with a service charge to your checking account. So you want to find a way to record that in your checkbook. So this is what we're doing here. So to record that, we're going to write service charge in the other place, and then write down the amount of the service charge, and then record a new subtotal so that we can update the balance in our actual checkbook now to account for these transactions that didn't have a check paper trail for them, right? That we didn't know this happened in any other way than other than looking at our bank statement. Okay. Now, if we've recorded this in our checkbook, we also need to journalize this, right? So we have to record this in our journal. So the transaction is received bank statement showing January bank service charge, $25. We've notated that with a memorandum. So that's a miscellaneous expense. So that's a credit to miscellaneous expenses and a debit to cash. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It's a debit to the expense and a credit to cash, because the cash is going down. Miscellaneous expense is going up. So to record that in your journal, you'll just use one line where your debit is to miscellaneous and your credit is to cash. Does everybody feel okay on how to record that in the journal? So again, date, title and amount, credit, and then source document. And until we add this to our ledger, the post reference would be blank until this item gets recorded into the ledger.
So that's just the same stuff we've been doing.
Same stuff you've been doing, right? It's just reminding you that, like, okay, you got this service charge from the bank, you have to record it in the checkbook, and you have to record it in your journal, because eventually that's gonna have to make it into the ledger that we've been keeping for all our accounts. So yes, same thing we've been doing, but you gotta make sure you're recording everything in the appropriate place. So reasons why a depositor's records and bank records might differ, we kind of touched on this. So a service charge can occur where there's no check paper trail, like the bank charges you for using a checking account or something else. You can have outstanding deposits that have not yet made it into a bank statement. So, the bank statement ends on the 31st, they mail it out to you, you get it on the 4th, but in the meantime, you've deposited money into the bank account between the bank statement ending and you receiving the bank statement, so there can be outstanding deposits that you've made in the interim. There can be outstanding checks that have not been cashed yet or have cashed in the interim of where the bank statement ended and you received it. So again, if you're doing business, it could have been a check still in January that you wrote that doesn't get cashed in February. That's invisible on the bank statement. Or you could have written some checks and had them cashed in the 3 days it took between the bank statement being printed, mailed, and you receiving it. You could have written checks and had them cashed. Again, would be invisible to the bank statement. And then the third one is that somebody made an error, either an arithmetic error or recording error. Like Dad took a check out of the checkbook to pay for the dry cleaning and forgot to write down how much the check was for. Easy thing to have happen growing up. If a check mark is placed on the check stub of each canceled check, what does a check stub with no check mark indicate? So that's, we didn't talk about that, did we? Did that come in here somewhere? I don't think so. No. All right. So I guess we'll talk about this now. Yes. Sure. So what this is saying is, often what you would do with your checkbook, as you got the canceled checks back from the bank, in your checkbook usually had a carbon on the other side rather than having to record your own check stub. But you get the checks back from the bank and you make some note on the carbons to know that okay, this check is cashed, this check is cashed, this check is cashed. or even in your ledger at the back where they give you like a little ledger in the back of your checkbook where you record everything also. You can make the notations there that this check is cleared or that check is cleared. So a check stub that you haven't checked out as something that's cleared would indicate to you that it might still be outstanding, that it hasn't been cashed yet, right? Is that? Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing.
Officer Chan.
Does that make sense though, guys?
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about there?
Jeremy, you watching your biking videos?
All right. Let's run through the set gauge stuff.
I really wonder why I could. If they come up with the E3, the left turbo on. Because he's a little.
So again, if you want to pull up your own Sen gauge and follow along while we do the work together piece, I invite you to do so, right? Like that knocks out the one thing that you have to complete. Bless you. All right, and I always do this. I like it better this way. All right, this is on reconciling a bank statement and recording a bank service charge. So it says, on October 29th of the current year, Bright and White Laundry received a bank statement dated August 28th. Information has been obtained from the bank statement and from the records of the business. Prepare a bank statement reconciliation. Use August 29th of the current year as the date. If there is no value to be entered in a specific field, or if the value of an item is not relevant, leave the field blank to ensure a correct period. Okay, so our bank statement is written here, or a summary of our bank statement. So our balance on our bank statement is $27.12. We have a $20 service charge. We have one outstanding deposit that has not been recorded. We have two outstanding checks that have not been cashed. And the balance on the last stub of our checkbook reads $28.22. So let's start filling in. So the date it told us to use was today's date, which in the problem is August 29th. Okay. And then balance on check stub number. What is the number?
309.
309. Again, that's given to us right there. And the balance on that stub is
2,822.
2822. Again, given to us right there. The balance on our bank statement is 2712. Again, given to us in the problem. Our bank, it says deduct bank charges. We're told we have a service charge. So I'll call that service charge. And it was for $20. Everybody so far so good?
Yeah.
Okay. Add outstanding deposits. So we have one of those on August 12th or 28th for $300. So $828 for 300 monies. Total of outstanding deposits, well, there was just one, so the total's 300. And then our subtotal should be the 2712 plus the 300. Everyone feel okay with what we've done so far? Okay, the next says deduct outstanding checks. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do the total bank charges, so that's a total of $20. Then we had two outstanding checks, they were 306 and 308. Yep, you'd want to record those in numeric order, so the earliest check comes first. That check was for 140, and then the other is for 70. That gives us a grand total of checks of 210. So if I subtract 210 from that, I should have 2802. And if I subtract 20 from here, I should have 2802. And notice that now my two balances match. Yeah, Joey?
What was the total bank charges?
What's up?
What was the total bank charges? Yeah.
20, right? It was just a sum of all your bank charges. Since there's only one bank charge, it's just $20.
And then when it says deduct outstanding checks, that is like stuff you owe.
Right, those are things that haven't yet been cashed. So again, that was summarized at the top. Right, they summarized the outstanding checks for us, so we'd have to sift through the bank statement ourselves and figure out what we still owed on. They were nice and summarized that for us. Part B then says to record the service charge on stub number 309. Okay. So $20 was the service charge. The date was August, no, it doesn't want me to do it that way, 8/28. No? I don't know what it's looking for the date there.
Says not to put anything in the top four in that first section.
Oh, okay. Oh, because that's all for a check. I got it. So we just put at other service charge, $20.
Well,
$20. The balance brought forward though we have, right?
Yeah.
That's the 2822.
Yeah.
There's no amount on check or amount deposited, so balance carried forward should be 2802. I think that's right, isn't it? We should probably check. I didn't get a chance to do this one this morning. Oh, what did I do? Oh, okay. All right. So this should be the 2822 again. And this should be then the 2802. And why is that? Oh, and is that just a blank? The last one's blank then. Yeah. All right, we figured it out. All right, and then our last one, we have to do our journal and journalize this. So I assume this is just page 1 of our journal.
It says,
Oh, use page 16, sorry, I should read the directions. Record the service charge on the journal page 16, use memorandum number 77 as the source document. So we're in August 29th, I think, right? Is that what it was? And this is a miscellaneous expense. Memorandum 77 will be M77. It's a debit of $20 to the miscellaneous expense, and it's a credit of $20 to cash. And then Checkarooski's, that all looked good. I think we're checked everywhere.
How do you know if it's journal page 16?
I told you in the directions. So if you read the piece before the journal, it says, record this on page 16 of the journal.
Yeah.
But you know,
But where's page 16? Is this a week only charging $5.5? I'm so confused.
it says in the direction.
75%.
Why do you not get directions?
Joe Lancy, where it says page in the upper corner, I'll put a 16.
Yeah.
So you put 16 where it says page. Is that what you're asking? Okay.
How we said the direction.
It's early.
It's okay, man.
Like we're all the miscellaneous expense.
How did I know that?
Yeah.
So like, well, in the PowerPoint, that's how they recorded it. So it's just because I was paying attention.
Okay.
I would assume all banking expenses are gonna be miscellaneous expenses.
Okay.
But it's like, it's not it's not like something that I think would be a regular occurrence. It's probably something that happens like once a year.
Right.
You get like, oh, here's your fee for having a checking account.
Okay.
So like, that's
Yes.
not something that happens frequently to give it its own account kind of thing, you know what I mean?
For the rest of the.
Yeah. So that's the work together. You guys should spend the rest of the time in class doing the on your own and application. We'll try to do 2 sections next time. I think we can do 5.3 and 5.4 next time. 5.3 looked like a little wimpy guy when I looked at it a minute ago. I think there's only like 12 total points between the 3 assignments for 5.3, which makes me think it's gonna be like pretty simple, although I haven't gone through and done them yet. It's on my to-do list, but like, this to-do list is getting longer and longer every day. I need some to-done list, you know?
Just gives hundreds.
I couldn't hear what you said. 'Cause
It
it
just
sounded
gives
like-
hundreds on everything.
I mean, we did that for a while, right?
Nice bit.
Yes, it was like the first month of class before we got the access to the online book was basically we handed it all to you guys, we did it together, and everybody got 100 on everything. The good news, Cameron, is that like these digital assignments, you can just keep redoing it. If you don't like what you got,
I did that.
you can just like like start it over again and just do it. I think it keeps the old answers in there.
And I was gonna do 5.3.
I emailed you guys
That works perfect, yeah. Anyway, so then we'll do that, what's today? That'll be Friday then, we'll try to do that. Ooh, there's 60-minute class on Friday, we'll see. Because we have reconciliation and stuff Thursday and Friday, so I think there are hour classes on Thursday and Friday, so maybe maybe we don't do both, we'll just play it by ear. And I think, I'm gonna add an extra, normally you have 1 day for the reviews. I'm gonna add an extra day for that. We're gonna do some paper stuff. Based on the last test, it seemed like some of us were woefully unprepared to do anything on paper. So I'm gonna give you guys some paper versions of things. Yeah, we'll do, some of the study guide things are so long, I don't wanna do it on paper, but we'll give you some paper pieces to practice on that'll more closely mimic the way the test will be formatted when you do the
3 hours.
test. Sound good to you guys? So I'll build an extra class day to do that next week also.
That's this one.
And we're closely approaching our FBI speakers coming here, I think, toward the day before Thanksgiving break, to talk about life as an FBI forensic accountant.
You subtract the 4151.
Exciting, I'm really interested. We'll have a midterm for this class, I don't know what it's gonna look like yet. I haven't started on that, that's in November, well, it is November. Oh boy, that's a Thanksgiving break problem. Actually, we probably need to start addressing it before that, because I'm gonna get buried under IA's degree here tomorrow. Well, not a week, but like, yeah, it's gonna be a mess. Anyway, yeah, I'll let you know when I have a better idea what that will look like. I would assume it's